Well, I'd like to welcome back each of our panelists. Bryce Fortner, the cinematographer on I'm Your Woman; Shelly Johnson, cinematographer for Greyhound; Martin Ruhe, cinematographer on The Midnight Sky; and Lorenzo Senatore, cinematographer on The Outpost. And gentlemen, I'd just like to start talking our group conversation by talking about directors. You've all worked with a lot of directors over the years, and they all have different approaches. You know, some very detail-oriented, others probably leave you alone, and then there's those in the middle. Do you have a preference for one over the other? Shelly, you've worked with so many different kinds of directors over the years. What's your favorite? What's the sweet spot?
You know, all are so different. You know, you work with some that know a lot about everything there is to know about cameras, and some that just have almost a disdain for cameras and equipment. And I did one film for a Broadway director once, and I was sent there a little bit early to talk to him about possibly how to use the camera. And in one of our conversations, I think he distilled it the best, because he told me, look, I don't know how to talk to you about camera equipment or lighting or how to move the camera, but there's always one question I should be able to answer at all times, which is like, I can tell you what I want the audience to feel. And if a director can do that, yeah, that really kind of unlocks everything for a cinematographer.
And so, Martin, I know you've worked with George Clooney on Catch-22 and now The Midnight Sky, but he was an actor in your first film with him, The American. So what about other directors that you've worked with? What approach do you like?
I think I have to agree with Shelly. I think as long as the director knows the story and what he wants to, the feeling he wants to convey, that's the key. And I don't know. And then, the second thing you need is trust between you and the director. And then I think you can go anywhere. And it doesn't really matter I don't know. It's nice if you're prepared, but it's also nice to be open and let things happen on set. So I don't know. I think I'm happy to be challenged new every time.
No, I totally agree with just what Martin did. I like to be challenged as well. I in generally prefer a director with a strong vision, even if it's completely opposite of what it would be the vision I have for the project. It's important, I think, the challenge sometimes and step out of your comfort zone. That's what I really like about the job, about the being a cinematographer. It's I think trying everything possible. It's important.
And Bryce, what's your preferred collaborative environment?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I want to echo what all these other gentlemen have said, but I mean, I definitely, and for me, I prefer a very strong collaborator. I think a good director makes my work better. You know, I don't have a lot of interest in showing on set, and working with directors, like, I don't know, I trust you, you do your thing, and it's like, okay, I can do something, but I like having those dialogues, those conversations, because I think it makes the work better. But I've had that experience before, and Shelly, I 100% agree. If that director knows at least what they're after emotionally, then I have something to pull from. You know, I'm not a very technical DP. I'm a very kind of emotional DP, for better or worse. So at least if I have that commonality with the director, then I'm good to go.
So, Bryce, thinking about directors, I mean, when you watch the final cut of a film, have you ever sort of thought, oh, they used the wrong take? Or have you found that like a whole scene that you loved that was dropped? I mean, how do you react to that?
It happens every time, and it's disappointing every time. And you know, it's like even in Stargirl, the movie you'd mentioned, we shot this scene. It was just like a handheld one or argument between two people at dusklight. You know, as the sun was setting, we had 5 minutes to shoot it, and we did it, and it was perfect, and it was amazing. And I remember when the shot was done, Julia, the director, she was crying, and we went over. I was like, great, we nailed that performance. And the whole scene's cut from the movie, you know. And I get it, I get why, but it always happens. It always takes me a long time too to actually see if something I've done is good or not. I feel like I always need a couple years after a project to actually get some sort of distance from it.
Well, Lorenzo, you said you sort of try and forget things, but can you forget when they've cut a whole scene that you loved out of a film?
No, that's very, it's hurting a lot, and it makes me hate editors, obviously. But at the end, what it matters. I think it matters more the performance and what it works for the cut and what it works for the story. So most of the time I get hurt immediately when I see something missing, or when I see a completely wrong out of focus take, which doesn't make sense technically, but if that was the best performance, that's what it's important at the end.
Like, Shelly, you're smiling knowingly. You're thinking of something.
Yes.
Oh no, I thought it is an interesting thing. Well, filmmaking is such I think we're part of somewhere near the middle of the transition of the process, so we have our story that we're telling, and to us, during production, that story is paramount, and every move we make is about optimizing that storytelling. And then of course they enter post-production, and they enter a new transition and a whole new phase, and sometimes it's difficult to stay in touch when everyone is in post, and you do lose, you remain, or rather you become disconnected with that phase of storytelling. So I do make an effort to try to stay involved if I can, and I have had directors call me sometimes to come in and have a look at a cut, which is nice. But that just comes with the job, and it is pretty funny though.
And Martin, have you had the same experience where you've lost something that was beloved to you?
I don't mind that, because if the film is better by that, then it's fine. I'm happy with that. But I love to be involved also, like on Midnight Sky, we had so much post, and they kept me in the loop. They got me involved, and then I went to London, and for the CGI shots, some of those shots we had designed with a virtual camera. So then when it came to creating the spaceships, and they allowed me to talk into, and then George trusted me to go there, and then I was very deeply involved, and I loved that. And then that was special in that sense that it didn't stop, but it's there's quite a few shots which are fully CGI, and I was happy enough to be part of that.
Well, when I was found this wonderful saying when I was trying to think about how to ask you about the digital film divide. And Shelly, you might remember this, when they used to say that it was $1 a second on a film set, right? So where do you fall on the digital film divide, Shelly? Where?
Well, I mean, technically, you can think of it. I think of it as comparing oils to watercolors. In film, kind of like oil painting, you kind of start with the shadows, and you kind of work your way up, and you thought about the highlights, but all my thinking anyway was surrounded the shadows, and where is black, and where are you starting to see detail and all that, and with watercolors, for instance, your whites are the paper, and you start building color towards shadows, and that's sort of almost the way I approach digital. It's almost like it's an opposite kind of thing. Ultimately, what it is a tool, and I think any cinematographer, we learn everything new. We learn the new LED lighting. We learn the new digital equipment, and we're never not learning. In fact, when we do a movie, by the time we get to the end of that movie, we're usually 5 months behind on a lot of the new developments, so we have to catch up. But yeah, it's all part of the growth of the industry and where it's going in the future. So I'm all for it.
And Martin, you've seen that too, right? The evolution, the shift away from film. Do you miss that? Do you miss shooting on film?
What I miss sometimes is when with film, people were more attentive. You look at a little monitor, and people would go, I'm not sure, maybe we better clean that up. And now everybody looks on a phone or on an iPad, says, that's fine, that looks great. And then you just shoot soon, quicker. And then I like the focus of shooting film. But technically, I find it quite exciting that now sometimes we can tell stories which we couldn't have done without digital cameras, because the cameras are smaller, or, you can shoot with so much less light sometimes, or you can move faster, and then all the things you can do with color with the LEDs right now, and on the always tighter schedule. I find that quite amazing, or the possibilities we have now.
And Bryce, have you sort of worked in both?
Yeah, I mean, I learned shooting film, and yeah, I completely agree with the other guys. It's like I miss the discipline that comes with shooting film. That like the oh shit, camera's rolling. Let's all be serious, not serious, but like let's just be on it. You know, this every moment counts. And there's some annoying things about digital, but honestly, like I think Deacon said, it's just like I do like going home at the end of the night, like knowing what we have and what we don't have. I don't miss calls from the lab. I don't miss getting into telecine and being like, oh shit, you know, like those things. I like going home knowing what's there and what's not. And also like on I'm Your Woman, I did shoot at high ISOs. And I think just creatively what that allows for, you know, on a smaller budget is very helpful.
So Lorenzo, we were talking about just digital versus film, and I'm curious, like in the digital world now, you know, it's got to have changed the post-shoot experience, right? Aren't there so many more people involved than there used to be with it being on digital?
No, I don't find that big of a difference. I mean, I've started also on film, so I experienced both. What I'm missing the most about film is actually a little bit to go counter to Roger Deakins, who's one of my favorite, obviously, masters. It's actually what I miss is the thrill of waiting for the lab the next day, the dailies, the projection. That was something that was keeping me actually quite up and alive, and this waiting was fantastic actually. But on the other side, it's the technical advantages. It's incredible. The smaller cameras, the high sensitivities. It opens up all different doors. So I wouldn't mind go back to film though. For sometimes it's difficult, but.
And I'm curious, and starting with Bryce, like when for your next project, is there something specific you're looking for? Like, is it the script, the director, to be surprised by something, to be challenged? What would you be looking for in the next thing that you do?
I mean, if I found a project that had all that, that'd be fantastic. You know, you guys, someone I forget who said it, but like, I do like being surprised a lot. And if that's in a collaboration with a director that does something where I'm like, oh, that's amazing. It's so organic to you, but I didn't think of it that way, or the way that they work, or the way they work with music or anything. So, I mean, in a vague answer, all of that. You know, I think when it really first comes down to story, though, 100% for me, like I care about a script. I care about story. I have a hard time making something look good just to like look good. It's like an absolute failing on my part as a DP. So for better or worse. So, but it's like if I have a reason to light something in a dramatic way or something, I can do that. So if there's a good script and a good story, and then on top of that, there's a director that has, you know, a lot of heart or a lot of connection to the material that can surprise me and challenge me, then that's great. I mean, that's obviously asking for a lot on one project, but those are definitely all the things I look for.
And Shelly, you're the same? Is it?
Yeah. Well, I can certainly I agree. First of all, I just want to say I'm in awe of every cinematographer who's talking today. I'm very humbled to be talking to everybody, and but kind of echoing what Bryce said. What's interesting, I'm in Melbourne, Australia, shooting a film. And this is the director and myself. So this is our third film together. And one of the things I enjoy is the collaboration and the growth. With this particular director I'm working with now, Mark Williams, I shot his first film a few years ago. And with his second film, I saw him very much mature as a director. And now, just yesterday, we were talking about a shot. He made the suggestion for a shot that just blew me away. That was just so nice. It was just such the right narrative note. And I can see his vocabulary, his visual vocabulary expanding. And that's what I like. I mean, you know, we all love to shoot a great story in a great setting. And, you know, there's always that little tickle we get from, you know, those little visual cues, but the storytelling is the most important thing. And you're in this business. It's not so much a job, it's a lifestyle. So the collaboration component of it is important to me.
And for you, Martin, what is this sort of on your wish list in terms of your next project?
Yeah, I agree with Shelly and Bryce. I think good story and collaboration. And then, I've been working twice with George now, and that was a great collaboration. And I just love the trust he gives us, and everybody who's basically in his crew. And yeah, I would love to continue that for a little bit and see where it takes us.
And Lorenzo, you jump around genres. So what would be the next one that you'd want to try?
The next one that I am actually gonna try, it's a horror movie, and it's one of my old favorite genre, and again I'm getting really excited because I'm getting challenged and pushed by the director to like I was saying before, this is my favorite part, but step out of what I usually will do, which is dark lighting and moody. And he wants to explore a different way of shooting horror. So I'm starting prep next week, and I'm really excited to step out of the comfort zone, like I was saying.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking time. I mean, you're busy, most of you working, to talk about your current films, and we certainly look forward to seeing these next ones as well. So thank you again.
Thank you, Paul, very much. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you.